Hey, welcome back to the Big Red Zone. We are very excited for today's show. Remember, new episodes come out every Wednesday. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the like button on this video as well as all our other videos. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Big Red Zone. And tell a friend. This week, I'm going to break down the Christmas Day games and the Christmas weekend games in the NFL. We're also going to talk about some Celtics, talk some MLB Hall of Fame, and also breaking down our personal top 5 best moments, sports moments of 2021. This is the New Year's episode, and this is the Big Red Zone. Welcome to the podcast. This is the Big Red Zone. I'm your host, Big Red. As always, I am joined by Danny Football.
Happy New Year's, Big Red.
Happy New Year's, Merry Christmas, all that good stuff. How was your Christmas?
It was a good little low-key Christmas. Sat back, watched the Celtics game. Kind of ruined my day, but that's all right. It was good before that.
You had to do what I do and take that out of the equation. I can't watch that on Christmas. I can't watch the Celtics on Christmas. Yeah, it was a nice quiet Christmas this year. It's a nice. We got a little snow on Christmas Eve, a little dusting, which was nice. We were talking about how we wanted that last week, and we got our wish. Our wish came true. At least my wish came true. I don't know if it snowed up where you were. I can only assume.
Yeah, we had a bit of a late coating just to add some color.
I like it. Also, as Daddy Football pointed out, this is the New Year's episode. We are entering New Year's. It will be 2022 next time Danny Football and I chat on the Big Red Zone. What is your feel? I mean, I'm kind of, I guess it's kind of happy again, not as happy as I was to leave 2020 last year, but it's still, I'm excited to see what 2022 will bring. Any closing thought? I mean, we'll get into it, but is there any, I don't know. I don't know what the word is, but the
any kind of recap in it. So
recap. Is there any
it
recap?
got off to a pretty dismal start, but it was looking really good there for a second, but we're kind of limping to the finish line. But
Yeah,
2022 will probably be better if we're all being optimistic. It'll probably be better.
I would say it can't get any worse, but I don't want to say that.
Oh no,
I don't want to say.
I don't think it'll get any worse. I think we'll be fine, guys. We'll be all right.
Patriots are gonna win the Super Bowl in 2022. How could it be any bad?
That's when it all turns around right there.
The Patriots winning the Super Bowl gets the world back into into balance. You know what I mean? It gets everything back into the swing of things.
We're a little off the swing right now, but we're good.
I know. Pats haven't been to a Super Bowl in 2 years, guys. Like it's kind of we're out of balance here. We got to get back into the swing of things. They're not going to get in the back into the swing of things if they keep playing like this the last 2 weeks. But let's get into our first topic of the night, the weekend recap. It's the weekend recap. So for weekend recap, we picked 3 games from the NFL season or NFL week. We'll break those down. We're going to start off with Packers-Browns. Packers get the big W over the Browns. This is a historic game, I guess, in Packers history. And also the Packers are, just continue to assert their dominance in the NFC. Just initial first reactions to this game, Danny Football.
I thought it was a very winnable game for the Browns, considering it came down to the last drive. Baker Mayfield did everything possible he could to give this game away. Three interceptions turned into 3 touchdowns for the Packers. I don't know if there's a bigger Baker Mayfield guy than maybe Jack. I loved the kid coming out of Oklahoma. I thought he was a gamer. His rookie season was really good. He doesn't have it anymore, man. He is just a complete shell of himself. I don't know if it's just the team disintegrating around him as well, but they shipped OBJ out of town thinking he was the problem, and clearly he wasn't the problem. I mean, he throws 3 brutal interceptions in this game. His stock could not be lower. And they're 7-8. They're not out of it, but this was a game they could have had. And you can't give Aaron Rodgers 3 turnovers and expect to win the game. I mean, he was just automatic with Devontae Adams all day long. and it's looking like the NFC is going to run through Lambeau. So that's going to be an interesting one for our boy Tommy.
That's going to be a great game. Now, as much as you got to kind of, this one's on Baker. Baker was absolutely awful. He's just limping over, bumping into every coffee table he could to lose that game. But is there any can you give him a little bit of a pass here? Because I'm trying to find the tweet that showed all his injuries. I mean, he's playing with a torn labrum, broken bones in his his rib cage, like every possible injury this guy has, and he's playing through it. Unlike some people who have like a stub toe and they sit out for 2 weeks. Is there any merit to playing through these injuries, or does he have to kind of face the music and say, listen, you need to get your body right? Because either it may just be him making bad decisions or making bad throws, but I mean, the torn labrum is one of the worst injuries because you can play through it, but it's just painful. And I don't think many people know how painful that is, but especially for a quarterback. So I don't know if it's, when I'm watching that, I don't know if it's so much his decision making or, he's dealing with all these injuries, which leads to his decision making. I don't know, but I think there has to be something in there. His injuries have to kind of tie in there.
He was also coming off the COVID list, but
Right.
my argument against both the COVID list and if he's playing with any injuries, at what point do you decide, hey, I'm being a detriment to the team, I can't play? It's one thing to, say, oh, I'll rub some dirt in it, get in there, and I'm going to play. But if you're throwing 3 picks and you're not right, dude, you're only doing your team a disservice, especially considering what Nick Mullins did last week. So do I commend him for playing with injuries? Yes, but at the same time, if he knows he can't play at 100% and these mistakes are happening because he is injured, he needs to be able to swallow his pride and take a seat, because it's only making him look worse.
I think that's fair. I think that I do think he probably should have. I'm trying to find there was a laundry list of things wrong with this guy, and he was playing through the injuries. Which, listen, like I know, we try to say, oh, good job for a guy playing through an injury, and when someone sits out, a couple weeks because of injury, we're like, let's toughen up a little bit. So I commend him on that point. But I think Ray Lewis told a story about how in a game he separated his tricep from the bone or something like that on a tackle, and he stayed in the game. And he decided to take, the only reason he came out of the game was because he was hurting his team. He wasn't able to tackle efficiently. He said, I can deal with pain, but if I'm hurting my team, I'm going to take myself out. And I think that's where you're right. I think Baker, and it could just be he's bad. Like, I'm not saying I think he's better than what he's playing because I'm a big Baker guy, but he just looked awful. And maybe it is the injuries. And if it is, he needs to kind of take a second and say, look at my body's not right. Nick Mullins, he played a great game a couple weeks ago. I'm going to let him, I'm going to take a week and just try to get my body right. Or, I don't know. It's the torn labrum's that's months. That's at least 6 months after surgery of fixing. So if he did that, he's probably done for the year. But maybe that's what it takes to get his body right. Because if he's hurting his team like this, there's no point of him going out there on the field.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think at a certain point, you'd rather just take a seat than throw 3 picks and completely tank your stock. He's doing himself no favors at this point. It looks optically, it looks terrible.
I agree. And on the other side of the ball, I mean, this Green Bay Packers team just keeps getting hotter and hotter. The Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers combo just looks like it's unstoppable. And they, like you said, they take over the number 1 seed in the NFC. Is this the best team? I know they are record wise, but is this the best team in the NFC? Do you think this is going to be the Super Bowl representation of the NFC?
I think it's probably 1A and 1B with the Bucs. I think the Cardinals are done, and we'll get to that later when we make picks of the week. I think the Cardinals are done. They're completely shot at this point. And you kind of look around the rest of the NFC. The Cowboys seem like they're heating up at the right time. They could be a possibility, but I think right now it's a 2-horse race between the Bucs and the Packers. And if the Packers are able to finish with home field advantage, that's huge for them. So
I will say another team that's heating up is my boys, the LA Rams too. They've won 4 in a row. That's another team that's starting to get hot at the right time.
I'd probably
And
lump them more with the Cowboys than
yeah,
the Bucks and the Packers, but
they're that tier right below. I
yeah,
think they're right.
It's gonna come down to who has home field. If it's the Packers, then we know how daunting Lambeau can be. If it's the Bucks, then that's gonna be even better for them.
Trying to see. Yeah, I mean, the Packers are 12-3, and then the Bucks, Rams, and Cowboys are all 11-4. So, the Packers, I don't know who they have. They have the Lions. They may not even play anyone that last week. And they play the Vikings next week. So I mean, those are two games. I mean, the Vikings, despite their record, are a better team than their record shows. But they're going to be a hungry team. They're kind of they're right on the doorstep of making or missing the playoffs, 7-8. You got the Saints are going tonight, so it depends on that. But you got the 49ers who are 8-7. You got the Eagles who are at 8-7. So they're like trying to fight for that last spot. So that will be a good game. And then the Lions, it's just gonna be, the Lions will fight, but I mean the Packers are gonna blow them out. But I mean, if the Packers drop one next week, I mean, any of those teams that I just mentioned that are 10-4, 11-4, excuse me, they could easily take the 1 seed. I mean, the Packers, it's their their home field advantage to lose. But there's a lot of good teams in that NFC. But I agree with you. I think it's the Packers, and then even the Bucks are kind of falling because they're getting injury prone. They're like losing people left and right. So I think the Packers kind of for me anyway, hold that number 1 spot as the best team. Let's move on to the Colts Cardinals. We just mentioned it. Cardinals are totally unraveled. They've dropped a couple games that are really like they should win these games, and they lost a tough one with the Rams, which you're going to lose some of those. But at the last 3 games, they've lost to the Rams, the Lions, which we talked. They got torched by the Lions, and then they lost to the Colts, which I think they beat us. They're a very good team. But what started off as like the Cardinals season to we thought this was going to be it for them. I mean, they're done in my eyes. That there's no coming back from this.
Yeah, I mean, you lose D-Hop. Kyler Murray clearly isn't playing his best football right now. The defense is shot. This team is in a free fall, man. They were looking like the clear and concise number 1 seed, winning their division, home field advantage, and they can't clinch the playoff spot right now. They needed to win to clinch the playoff spot, and they lost again. So now it's a question of, are they even going to be able to get in? Is the pressure going to become so much that they can't even get in? And that's a huge collapse. From number 1 seed to possibly missing the playoffs is a huge collapse. I don't know what the real catalyst for this was, if it was Hopkins going down or anything maybe with Murray, and I know he missed a couple weeks, but this is concerning for a Cardinals team that has really underperformed since they brought in Murray and Hopkins, and Cliff Kingsbury is supposed to be the next big thing at coaching. They haven't really, set the world on fire considering the talent they have. So I can only imagine there's going to be a lot of changes to be made for the Cardinals if this really does go all the way down the tubes. And then you look at the Colts, the other side of the field. This team couldn't be hotter right now, man. They are really catching it right now. Jonathan Taylor is looking like an MVP candidate. Carson Wentz is doing what he has to do. I'm not saying he's, the Carson Wentz of old, but he's managing the game pretty well. The AFC has to worry about the Colts, and the NFC is looking like it's bypassing the Cardinals right now.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the Colts right now, you're right. They're playing probably their best football. In the last 2 weeks, they play the Raiders, which the Raiders are looking like they're dead in the water. And they play the Jaguars last week of the season, so they have the benefit of their schedule. I mean, the Raiders game is not going to be any joke, but still they have that on their side. Looking at the Cardinals, they play the Cowboys next week. I mean, the Cowboys are harder than the Cardinals right now, and this Cowboys defense at home. My money's on the Cowboys defense, like the Cowboys defense and Dak and that great team. Like they're looking very hot right now. And now you go into the last week against the Seahawks, who have nothing to lose. Russell Wilson, possibly Russell Wilson's last game with Seattle. This is like a big 2 weeks. This is like a real put up or shut up time for the Arizona Cardinals. And I don't want to act like the sky is falling, but if they lose the next 2 weeks and miss the playoffs, like we're talking serious looks in the mirror to see if the Cliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, like a lot of these guys, we're going to be taking a long look in the mirror. And I think the players are usually safer than the coaches. But Cliff Kingsbury, people were talking about him being the coach of the year, I think he's going to be finding himself on the hot seat because if they collapse from this is like totally unacceptable. And like you said, the Colts couldn't be hotter. I mean, you're right. Carson Wentz is just doing enough to get this team in the right position to win games. Jonathan Taylor, you hit the nail on it. Like he is a potential MVP candidate. He should get votes for the MVP. And they're beating good teams. We just crapped on the Cardinals, but the Cardinals are a good football team. Like they were the number 1 seed for a reason. They beat the Patriots. They destroyed the Texans, which is what good teams do. They beat the Bills a couple weeks ago. They barely lost to the Bucks on that end of the late game against the Bucks. It was a night game, I forget, but it came down in the last play. And they're a team that in the beginning of the season we talked about how they beat the bad teams but weren't winning against the good teams. They finally started beating some very good football teams, and I mean this is a team that the Pats, I think of the Pats selfishly because I want them to make the playoffs, but anyone in the AFC should be a little nervous playing this team come the playoff time.
100%.
Let's move on to the Pats game, which I don't really want to talk about, but we'll talk about it. Bills Patriots. The Bills beat the Patriots 33-21. What could have been a day that the Pats clinched the division. Now they're in like the 6th or 7th seed in the AFC and make these last 2 games, which, we were planning on winning them anyway, but now they're kind of must-win games. I mean, my first thoughts on this, I think it brought us back down to earth. I mean, we were really considering, we were talking about this team being the best team in the NFL. People were talking like this is the best team in the NFL like 2 weeks ago. And 3 weeks ago, we were saying we'll be lucky if we, split with the Bills. We lose in Buffalo and we win in at home. We were talking about how we wanted to be 11-6. We thought that would be a really good year, first year for Mac Jones. And, I think it kind of brings people back to earth. And I was one of them. I thought this was we were going to roll the rest of the year. And, the Colts, that was a bad loss for us. That's a game that's winnable. I mean, this was a winnable game too, but I think the Buffalo Bills kind of took this game personally, and you could tell by the way they played, and they had the edge than what we had. I mean, I think they had more of an edge going into this game than we did.
No, I'd agree with that. It was a pretty pathetic performance from the Patriots, if I'm being honest, both offensively and defensively. And it's concerning, we went into Buffalo, threw 3 passes and beat them, made them look like idiots. So you knew they were going to be up for this game. The Bills always are. Playing us twice a year is their Super Bowl. So you knew coming in that the Bills were going to show up. They always show up, especially considering that we embarrassed them in the last game. And first drive is a 3-and-out, and then they come down and they score on a 4th down. And then it just
then we came back and matched it. We did match it.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, it's concerning that we're immediately playing from behind.
Yeah.
You go 3-and-out, and then you're down 7-0. And then the defense falls apart where they can't make a stop. The Bills, for all their credit, were very aggressive going for it on 4th down all day long, never punted. First time against a Belichick-led team. And it's just N'Keal Harry drops, Mac Jones interceptions, and J.C. Jackson dropped a pick late that could have helped us out. But this team isn't built to come back from behind, so it's frustrating to see them fall behind so early, dig themselves a hole, and then when it comes time to, all right, let's dig ourselves out of it, they just don't execute. It's a dropped interception. It's giving up a 3rd and 10 to McKenzie, who torched us all day long.
Yep.
It's just a frustrating process for a team that had won 7 in a row going into their bye week, has a horrible loss to the Colts, which same thing. It was falling behind early that did them in. So now you lose 2 in a row, you lose the division. Buffalo has the tiebreaker, so you're going to need some help if you want to get the division now. It's disappointing considering how well things were looking up until this point, that now is when the offense is going to struggle. Now is when the defense is going to struggle. Like, we talk about needing to peak at the right time. Maybe we peaked too early, and now we're going to end up, if we can make the playoffs, limping into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So we have Miami, we have Jacksonville. It's 2 winnable games, but now it's games that you need to win. And I'm concerned that we're going to be flat now. I'm concerned we're going to be flat.
Yeah, I'm hoping that, we lost Aguilar with COVID. We lost Stevenson with COVID. Bourne didn't practice 90% of the week because of COVID. I'm hoping getting these guys back in the building for the whole week, and then you have a full week to prepare for. I think it's Miami. It's Jacksonville this week, or Miami. I think it's Jacksonville this week.
I
Right.
believe so.
Yeah. So you have a full week to prepare for Jacksonville, which, I mean, teams don't need that long to prepare for Jacksonville, but you have get them back in the building. I think this is a good slump buster game right here against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they need this game, and they need to put them away in, like, disintegrate this. It's kind of like when we played the Jets a couple in the beginning of the season, when we lost a couple and we needed that game to kind of get us rolling again. That's what I look at this game against Jacksonville, because you're right. I think, we peaked. We were hot. We were rolling. And then the bye week took all the air out of our sails, like, going into that game. Like, I don't know what happened to this team, and that shouldn't be an excuse. Like, you should be able to, you're very good. You've proven to be a good football team. You should be able to, deal with the bye, get healthy, and move on. But this team really needs to, like, use these next 2 weeks to do some soul searching, and you got to win your 2 games. Maybe get some help from a team that Buffalo is playing. I mean, we've seen it before where I think it was Jacksonville, beat the Bills early in the season. One of those bad teams beat the Bills early in the season, and you got some help from them. So hopefully we can get some help from them. I wanted to talk to you about, I did not have any, I wouldn't say it impacted. Well, it did have a little impact on the game, but I guess I don't think it changed the outcome of the game, about the 2 plays that everyone was talking about when Mac Jones ran out of bounds and got thrown to the ground. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was so incredibly peeved at that. Like, I didn't get that. I don't get how you pick up that flag, especially how 2 weeks ago against the Buffalo Bills, or 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, Josh Allen got the same exact call for him. And then they pick up the flag. And then right after that, your quarterback gets tackled, and Trent Brown's trying to get fired up, and you penalize him for taunting, which is the stupidest penalty in the NFL. It makes the NFL not fun at all. I mean, some taunting, you're right. Like, it's like a little outrageous, but I think we can have a line between someone dancing and kind of getting fired up after you just try to hurt their quarterback, and, doing something malicious, and, like, dragging their quarterback down by the head and throwing him out of bounds after they ran out. I was just that whole play was so frustrating for me.
It was a rough show, man. Like, if there's anything in this world that I hate more, it's referees injecting themselves into games. And that was a complete rough show. He's 5 feet out of bounds, clearly is out of bounds, gets pulled down by his horse collar. Throw the flag, pick up the flag. Trent, like you said, Trent Brown is, getting fired up, starting to get in the Bills' face for, going after his quarterback. So you penalize him. And it's insane to me that you know what you're doing. You know for a fact picking up that flag is going to alter this drive. And you know for a fact throwing a second flag is going to alter the drive. So it was I think it was a 35-yard swing where it could have been 15 yards for us, and then it becomes 15 back for us. It makes no sense to me why you'd throw the flag in the first place just to pick it up, and then as a result of what you just did, you throw another flag. It there and the I mean, I think the NFL has a officiating problem as it is. I think too many of these guys are, you know, admiring their own handiwork too many times as it is. I don't know how you fix it, but there's too many of these games. I'm not going to say we lost because of the refs. We didn't. We got
No, we
outplayed.
didn't.
But you can't be having these guys out here making egregious mistakes. I'm talking, if you don't think it's a penalty, you can't throw the flag. If you throw the flag, you have to call it, man. You can't just toss it knowing that you just watched a personal foul. And then however you decide it wasn't, because they certainly didn't go to replay to watch it. I don't know who came over to tell that ref that it needed to be changed, but these guys are working on pure emotion. That's not what we're supposed to do. So I thought it was pretty embarrassing for the league that these guys are out here just kind of calling it on the fly. It made no sense.
So I'm all for like refs coming in and changing, like helping the call to say like, oh, I saw this way. It's mainly like if a ball hits the ground on the turf and then one ref doesn't see it, but the other ref says, yeah, I saw it hit the turf. Or if anything, you go to replay to try to help fix the call and get the call right. But the thing with that is, I mean, I think everyone in the whole stadium and in the world watching that game saw that they got the call right. There's no way someone could convince me that that flag deserved to be picked up. The quarterback got tossed to the ground. It's a league that does nothing but protect the quarterback. And like to a point where defensive players really don't have can't hit the quarterback. It's pretty much two-hand touch with them. And then you decide when the quarterback not only gets pushed when he's out of bounds, but dragged to the ground by a horse collar, and you think that's okay. It's crazy. And like you said, then have the well-being and like the think it's okay to call a flag on the other team after you know that this is just gonna
That's what I'm
make
saying.
things
Like
worse.
you incited the emotion of that
Right.
team. Like the reason Trent Brown is doing what he's doing is because of you. Like you caused
Right.
that. That isn't
Right.
some sort of random act of passion or him, taking it into his own hands to do something. He's only doing that because you are picking up a flag that everyone in that stadium and everyone at home knows is is a foul. So
Right.
you can't then turn around and say, "Hey, I'm going to penalize you now," where you're the one who incited that. So that's my biggest problem is that you can't you can't do what they did. You can't throw a flag, pick it up, and then because of a reaction to what you just did, throw another flag.
And it wasn't
My
even a bad reaction. Like it was just like
that,
yelling and talking trash.
but
It was
right, but it wouldn't have happened if they didn't pick the flag up. If
no,
they
no, no, no. I'm saying like if it is their fault. I'm saying, but it's not like Trent Brown went over and grabbed the guy and threw Mac
no,
Jones to the
no, no,
ground,
no,
and
no.
then I get it. But he's just trash talking because of what you just did. So there
Right.
shouldn't like you just got to have a little feel for the game here.
No,
That's what it
there's
is.
zero
There's no
feel.
feel.
It was, like I said, became a ref show. They're going into business for
Right.
themselves. And it's two things for me. One, if if anyone has watched or can go back and watch the Michigan Ohio State game, there's a play in the game where an Ohio State player rips the helmet off of a Michigan player, and immediately the Michigan offensive line comes over and gets in the guy's face, like bumping helmets, like pushing him back, and the refs didn't throw a flag because that's the game. Like
Right.
if you're gonna go after someone's player, the teammates have a right to defend them. That's what Trent Brown was doing to the best of his ability. It's not like you said, he's not physically going after anyone, but he's gonna let you know, like, hey, you can't do that to my quarterback.
Right. And it's not
So
like he's a defensive player who can go sack the quarterback. He's just going to do all he's going to do is block you. And he's probably going to hit you hard and block you hard, but it's not like he's going to be able to hit you. It's not
right.
like he's not going to do anything. He's just talking trash and getting hyped up.
Right.
And
So again, that's just the refs taking it into their own hands. And then my other is Mac Jones came down on his bad knee. So what happens if he gets
he
pulled
tears
down?
his ACL.
That's what I'm saying. What happens if he gets pulled down the way he does and he shreds his knee? Now he's out for the season, probably for some of next season. And that's because you are allowing this to happen.
Right.
So now, hypothetically, Mac Jones's knee's blown out, and you're picking up flags because you think it's okay for someone to get horse collared 5 yards into the out of bounds boundary. What's going on?
And the other play that I like is exactly the same is they take a late hit. It wasn't as bad as I think it was, but it was a late hit on Mac Jones when he slid down. And David Andrews, who just already saw that play happen, took things into his own hands and, got in the face of the guy. I don't know who it was, but got into the face of the guy that hit Mac Jones late. And then he gets a penalty. So it's an offsetting penalty. If you're going to do anything in that situation, here's the thing. All right. I don't think you should have thrown the second flag against David Andrews. But if you are, right? If you are, doesn't it make sense to throw the late hit penalty flag on that one guy, which isn't an unsportsmanlike, and then throw two unsportsmanlike conduct penalties? You shouldn't throw any, but you should only penalize the one. But you should throw 3 flags in that situation. So the Patriots do get the 15 yards for Mac Jones, and then the 2 unsportsmanlike against the 2 guys that went head to head offset each other. When you just throw the 2 flags, they offset, and the late hit means nothing. You gave one penalty. You basically gave them a cheap shot to Mac Jones again in the same game, and penalized the team that was just sticking up for the quarterback who has been hit and cheap shotted all day long. That I think you're right. It turned into the ref show. They had no feel for the game. They had no control over the game, and it was just annoying to watch this unfold.
No, it was definitely frustrating to watch. And for a referee crew to completely take out self-policing in the game of football is borderline laughable. To say you're going to throw a flag every single time the offensive line tries to protect a teammate is laughable. But like I said, we didn't lose because of the refs, but it was extremely disappointing to see a referee crew completely just, fumble a game like that. It was insane. They completely lost control.
They lost control of the game, and you're right. We didn't lose because of the refs. We lost because we couldn't stop them on 4th down. We lost because we couldn't get off. The defense couldn't get off the field.
But it would have been nice if my quarterback was being protected like the other 31 quarterbacks.
Right. That's the only thing. Like, it would be nice if like he got the same protection as the guy on the other side of the field. But I guess you got to earn it. I guess we'll have to earn that right, which is kind of absurd.
That's scary to think that you need to earn being protected,
protection,
getting your knee destroyed. But
yeah. But that's how it is. And the thing I love about it, though, let's positivity sandwich here, Danny Football. Let's end with a positive comment on this thing. You know what I love about Mac Jones in that situation? He never looks for a flag. Anytime he gets hit, like he was dragged down, he was hit late. And every single time he got up and said, let's get back to the line. Let's go. Let's go. There's no need for a flag. He's a tough psychopath, and I love it. And he's like, you know what? I got my boys are going to have my back, but let's go try to get a W. I don't really care. You can, I just like that. It's because we don't have like the babies, like other people, including Josh Allen, that are like looking for the flag and say prima donna players are saying, why didn't we get the flag? They're like, all right, whatever. Let's move on to the next play. Maybe he'll grow into that, because he's young, maybe he's not going to do that, but that was just a positive thing for me. I like players that don't look for flags every other play.
Yeah, it was good to see him dust himself off, but at the same time, you can only hope the refs have his back at some point.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they can rebound against the Jags this week, and let's start building a couple wins to go into the playoff push. With that said, let's move into our next segment of the night, the picks of the week.
Picks of the week.
Picks of the week. We picked one game from the NFL weekend. Right now, Danny Football is taking a commanding lead, 2-game lead over me. Patriots have really disappointed me the last couple of weeks, so I guess some work cut out for me. I'll just go with mine. I'm riding the cold hand right now. I'm gonna go Pats over Jags. Hopefully they can get me back on the board. I'm 9-6, so let's see if I can be 10 and get that double digits.
All right, I'm gonna keep shoveling dirt on the Cardinals here. I'm gonna go Cowboys over Cardinals. We said it before. I think the Cardinals are, a sinking ship, and the Cowboys couldn't be hotter. I'm gonna ride the hot hand with the Cowboys. And like you said, nothing's guaranteed with home field. If Dallas can somehow turn, AT&T Stadium into the road to the Super Bowl, that'd be huge for them. So I think they're gonna get a big win, and they're just gonna keep trucking along, man.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Let's move on to waiver pickup of the week. I'm going with Isaiah McKenzie. I hope everyone listened to me about Amon St. Brown because he had another great week next week, and he's definitely going to be my keeper in one of my fantasy leagues, in the Brockton Rocks fantasy league, to be specific. I'm going with Isaiah McKenzie this week. He torched us, so you got to give him some respect. And who knows what's going to be going on with Cole Beasley and what's that other wide receiver they have? There's another wide receiver that's out right now for them. But Isaiah McKenzie rostered in 0.3% of leagues, so he's out there, folks. 11 catches on 12 targets, 125 yards, and a touchdown. Bill's got a pretty easy schedule, I think, the next 2 weeks. So if Beasley's out, he's filling in that role, and he's going to get a lot of catches. So that means a lot of points, and Bills are hot right now. So I'm going to go Isaiah McKenzie.
I'm going to go with former Patriot Rex Burkhead, rostered in 24% of leagues, dropped to 28.9 over the weekend. So if you're looking for a little bit of running back depth, Berkey's got it, man. He, old, reliable hand. He still got it. He still got some juice in the tank.
Rexy had a good day this last week. The Texans beat the Chargers. That's a huge loss for them. Is it safe to say that Davis Mills is the second best rookie quarterback in the class this year?
Dude, it's kind of insane to see what he's doing off. Kind of crazy.
Is he going to finish second in rookie of the year votes? Or rookie quarterback of the year? I guess they want to be rookie of the year, I guess. But second best rookie quarterback of the season. I think it goes to him.
Crazy, dude.
In a draft class where there's Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson. I shouldn't put him in this list, but Zach Wilson, number 2. All these other quarterbacks taken, Mac Jones. I mean, he's finishing right behind him. Who would have thunking? Let's move on to a quick update around different things, different sports topics. I saw on a recent poll update. Did you say that is over 75? No, sorry. I don't know how much percent of the vote is in, but Big Papi right now is the only person going into the Hall of Fame. He's the only one over the 75% threshold. Bonds and Clemens are just like percentage points, like 0.5 or whatever percent under the threshold. What's your reaction, Danny? Like, what are we thinking here? I'm pretty. My feelings on the Hall of Fame voting is pretty out there in the open, so I'm less than pleased.
I think David Ortiz should definitely be in there.
Oh no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the other guy's not being in.
I was gonna say if Barry Bonds and everyone else aren't joining him, then that's insane, dude. It's disappointing. It's frustrating that they're gonna continue to do this until the end of time. It was looking good for a second there, but I can only hope it turns around. I really do want to see this be the year that it all changes. But if this is how it's going to continue, then the Hall of Fame is just going to be a farce at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think Clemens and Bonds were like, I think you need 75% of the vote, and they were 74 point something. With the votes put in there, and then it was I think Scott Rowland was behind them, and then Kurt Schilling was behind him. He was like 69%, 70% of the vote. I mean, in my personal opinion, I think it should be this year should be David Ortiz, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and Kurt Schilling. Those 4 should be in the Hall of Fame. They deserve it. Some of them are getting towards the end of their possibilities of being voted in. And do you really want to live in a world where the guy who has the most home runs, the most strikeouts are not in your Hall of Fame? That's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. So, and I hate the guys that don't, like the guy, if you don't vote, like there was a guy that didn't put a vote in. He just like didn't put a
You
ballot
need to
in.
lose your vote. If you're
You need to
if
lose
you're-
your vote.
If you're handing in an empty ballot, dude, thanks but no thanks. Hand in your ballot and let someone else take the shot.
And I think they really need to start looking at some of these people that are voting in the Hall of Fame that
I mean,
you
the
know,
writers
are-
shouldn't be doing it in the first place, but
correct.
that's just me.
Correct. I honestly think there should be, I mean, there's gotta be like a hall like between players,
All right,
coaches.
they already have the veterans committee, which is insane.
Right.
That should just be it. But the fact that the writers control who gets in and who isn't is, I think, a shame.
Right. In the veterans committee, they can put people into the Hall of Fame. I think if they like after their 10th year, they can say if they want to put you into the Hall of Fame or not. I think they have a separate vote that they can put in separate people. I've heard. I don't know if that's accurate. Am I right? Wrong? Maybe.
I haven't looked into it at all.
I think there's like another thing because they were talking about last year when all of them didn't get in. And there's some other loophole to get them in after their 10th ballot, but it's ridiculous. We even have to go through there. Like it's clear cut. That's why I hate that. I kind of get it because I guess you could go back, you know, guys retire and then retire all the time. So I get the 5-year rule, but to me, like after you retire, I think they should vote you in that year. Like I hate that you have to wait the time and then so much because people take what happens after you retire into account, and it shouldn't. Like it really there's very few things that I would say outside of baseball or out of their sport that would keep me from voting for you for the Hall of Fame. Like you can be a real like jerk. And I still think like looking at what you do between the lines, I think you should be able to separate that. And, a lot of people can't, and especially these writers that are like soft. They can't separate that Barry Bonds is the greatest hitter of all time. They can't separate that Roger Clemens is one of the best pitchers of this generation. They can't separate that how nails Kurt Schilling was in multiple World Series for different teams. And, I can't believe that like we even have to have this conversation. I feel like, like we did first general reaction. Are they a Hall of Famer or not? And if you have to hesitate, they're probably not a Hall of Famer. And I just think that it's ridiculous that we have to have this conversation that we have to talk about, maybe next year that the guy who has the most home runs in all of baseball, maybe he'll get in next year. I just think it's ridiculous. It's so frustrating that we even have to
It's a
have
waste
this
of time at
conversation.
this point.
Yeah. Moving on to another waste of time, the Celtics. I was dead on my thing, Danny Football. They lost that dogfight against the 76ers and they came in and beat the Cavs. They finished that little bit of in that time frame, 16-16, 500 team. Pretty dead on, if I do say so myself. Pretty impressed with myself.
They had a dog shit loss of the Bucks because they can't close games.
They can't. Christmas Day, I knew they would lose in that game. It was too big of a primetime game. They were going to lose that game. So we thought it would be good to do, we talked about it last week. There's 26 games between now and the All-Star break. Right now, they were winning, but let's see how we're doing now.
They're up 8.
They're up 8 against the Timberwolves, which, hopefully they win that and get back to 500. Timberwolves are outscoring them in the second half. What else is new? So I think it would be fun to do that for the next until the All-Star break and see what do we think they'll go in the next 26 games. So Danny Football, what do you think they're going to be?
I think they're going to win tonight. Is that including the 26 or is that not included in the 26?
No, the 26 games would be starting.
I think they're going to be 17-17 heading into this 26 game slate. And I think they're going to be 31-29.
So what's that out of the 26 games?
They're going to go 14-12.
14-12. I think that could be oh shoot. I think I did that wrong. Why can't I edit into this? Oh, there we go. I think 14-12 is definitely I think that's definitely around where they'd be. Like I said, I think this team's a 500 team. So I think they're going to just be around 500. Since I can't be, I'll go through it now. The Clippers, I think they'll lose. Suns, they'll lose. 0-2. They'll win against the Magic. 1-2. I was saying 500, but I'm checking what I would say. 1-4, 2-4, 3-4, 4-4, 5, 5-5, 5-6, 5-6-6, 7-6, 8-6, 8-7, 8-8. I think they're going to be 500 again. I'm going to say 13-13. Because every time they seem to win a game, they drop a game. So whatever that, they'll be 500. Assuming they win tonight, they'll be 500. And
So
I think they're going to be
You're calling 30-30.
30-30 going into the All-Star break. And I think they're going to be the 7 or 8 seed in the East. Because I do think some of these teams are going to start coming back to earth. I think the Cavs are going to start dropping off. I think that the Wizards are slowly dropping off. I mean, you're looking at their last 10, they're 3-7. I think they're going to start dropping. I think the Hornets are going to start dropping a little bit. The Hawks and us are starting to, I think they're starting to, they're starting to kind of fizzle out a little bit. They kind of turned it on, but they're fizzling out. The Knicks are trash. They're not as good as we thought. The Raptors aren't as good as we thought. The Pacers are bad. They play the Pistons, Magic, and Pacers, Knicks. They play all those teams multiple times in that little run. So I think that's going to definitely help them. I think your prediction may be spot on, actually. I think 14-13 is right around where I put them, but
I like
to be different.
I like to think they'll be able to go in a upward trajectory, but I don't even know, man. If they had won that Bucks game, I would be feeling a lot better about them. But that was a slow, painful death in the second half.
Yeah, I don't see them beating the Nets. The Nets are locked in at 1 for me. I think the Bulls are playing out of their mind. I'd like to think that they're gonna fizzle out, but I don't see it. I don't see this team fizzling. They have a lot of veteran guys in. They got some young, talented guys in. Lonzo Ball. All those people that said Lonzo Ball stinks. I was on the train of get Lonzo Ball to Boston because I think he's the upward. Yeah, his stock was going to rise, and it has risen. That Bulls team is a very good team. The Bucks, obviously being the defending champs, they're going to be solid right in the mix. The Heat is always a 4 seed. I don't know what it is, but they always come in 4th in the division. Cavs, like I said, are going to drop off. The 76ers, I think, are 5-6 seed material. Wizards are going to drop off. Hornets are right around the 8-9 seed, but they're going to drop a little bit. So I think the Celtics have room to wiggle in there. I think they have a chance to, work their way in, nudge their way into the
limp their way into
the 7-8 seed. But you know what? This team has gotten my hopes up so many times. Fool me once, shame on me. Shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, 5 times.
Maybe this is just what they need. They need to be the dark horse instead of the prohibitive favorite.
Well, you know what the green teamers are all saying on Twitter? The answer to all our problems is an old friend.
Isaiah Thomas?
Yep. Everyone's saying to bring Isaiah back and he'll change it all.
I mean, the ISO Joe thing was fun for one game.
Yeah, that was a fun. Is his 10-day contract up?
No, but he didn't play against the Bucks, so
yeah. I mean, well, when he played in garbage time. And everyone's saying ISO Joe's gonna be was going to get a lot of minutes. I was like, you guys are out of your mind. He's going to come in garbage time and fill in where guys need rest. He wasn't, I mean, it was a fun story to bring in, but if you're looking at ISO Joe and Isaiah Thomas to be our savior, then I don't know what to tell you. Might as well bring back Jay Crawford and Jonas Jerebko while you're at it. Cause it's
run it all back.
What's Kelly Olynyk? Bring Kelly back. What are we doing? It's just ridiculous, but 500 team, get used to it, Celtics fans, because that's where we're at. We're a 500 team. And also, we didn't have it down on here, but I'm personally curious because we haven't done this in a few weeks. I haven't got my UMass Lowell Riverhawks hockey update in a while.
Well, you're gonna keep waiting because they don't play again until They've been on a long break.
What's this long break about here? Is it COVID related or just on a?
No, it's just Christmas break. Yeah, they're
Jeez,
they're not back home until the 5th.
this is absolutely ridiculous. How did we finish the break? We haven't talked about them in 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks.
They haven't played since December 11th.
Oh my God, this is not good. I'm
You're
not
telling
getting
me,
my
dude,
fill.
that they were hot going into the break, so I'm kind of disappointed. They were gonna
Well,
go pedal down.
get ready for the warm back up again.
They're top of the
time.
heap right now, so they just got to defend the hill.
I like it. So let's move on. We're gonna move on to it's a New Year's episode. So we're gonna talk about our top 5 sports moments of not of all time of 2021. Now these aren't necessarily Boston related. We don't have to go to the games. A lot of the things I picked were things I saw firsthand. But I think most of yours were you saw firsthand, right? I think some of them, not all of them, but some of the things were you personally best moments for you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's work our way to the top. Let's go with our number 5. What do we have for 5?
5, I put first Woo Sox game just to see Polar Park for the first time. It was
Yeah, that twinkle in your eye.
right. I mean, it was. I don't want to use the word emotional. It was just crazy to see something that I had been waiting for years finally come to fruition, because I had been on the Woo Sox bandwagon since day one when they announced they were moving the Paw Sox. So I was there all through the stadium mock-ups, the logo reveal, everything. So to finally sit and watch a baseball game in the beautiful confines of Polar Park was a good start to 2021 for me.
That's so funny. that tear. You had that tear in your eye there, Danny Football, walking in. My 5th one was actually, I think it was my first Celtics game back post COVID, but it was the Timberwolves game. It was a terrible game, but we got to see Tatum score 50, which was pretty incredible. Just watching him put on that scoring display. It was a historic game. It was the first game back since COVID. It was, against the Timberwolves, which are, growing up were like my second favorite team growing up. Like that was my other favorite team growing up as a Celtics fan. Celtics were number 1, but my other favorite team was the Timberwolves, mainly because of Kevin Garnett. But then they got Karl Anthony Towns, and like that was one of my favorite teams growing up. So I got to see those 2 teams play. Tatum scored 50 first game back, so it was first game back in the Garden, which was kind of cool. I wouldn't go with the same adjective as emotional as Danny Football walking into Polar Park for the first time, but it was definitely a cool game to watch. It was a frustrating game to watch because we were doing everything we could to blow it, but Tatum came in and put on a show and scored 50 for us.
And
what's
4? I got Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder 3. Closed out the trilogy earlier this year. First fight was back in December 2018. Then they fought February 2020, right before the pandemic really got going. So to kind of see them close this out, Fury taking the last 2 after the split draw in the first fight. This was huge for boxing, heavyweight boxing. I think it really did a good job of putting the sport back on the map. It turned Tyson Fury into a superstar, lineal heavyweight champ, WBC heavyweight champ, and now he's set up to fight like the Anthony Joshuas of the world, the Usyks of the world, and it was just good to see boxing back front and center.
You didn't want to put Darren Williams and Frank Gore on there, or
No, that's all right. That's all right. None of the
Paul brothers.
The Paul brothers didn't make the list.
I want to get your opinion. I guess we can pause now. We can do whatever we want. What was your opinions of the Paul knockout a couple weeks ago? I didn't talk about it last week.
It was definitely something, but I don't know if it was the most impressive thing I've ever seen. I mean, Tyron Woodley completely dropped his hand and let himself get punched. So
yeah,
I'm not going to go as far to say it was staged, but any amateur boxer worth their salt doesn't make that mistake. So again, I give him credit for the training. I give him credit for executing, and I give him credit for making money. But what are we doing here, man?
We should put Wilder against Paul.
He died, dude. He died. I legitimately think he would kill him.
All right. So for my fourth one, I'm gonna go on kind of with the Tatum game. It was my first game back in Fenway. It was the marathon weekend, so everyone had the blue and the yellow. It was kind of like, not to use your word, that one was a little emotional because it was the first game back in a while, over a year and a half, 2 years in Fenway. And anyone that's been to Fenway knows like there's a special feeling walking up that, right behind home plate ramp and getting ready for the game. Like that was like, it was pretty incredible. And I know it was limited seating, which was strange, but it was still really cool to see that game. And got to thank the wife because that was a birthday present going to that game. So, yeah, Fenway first game, Marathon Monday, first game of the doubleheader. It was really fun to go to that game.
Yeah, first Fenway game back was huge.
Three.
Three is Mac Jones taking over, and this is more just so getting that alert that Cam Newton was released and knowing that the kid had the keys to the car, and then seeing him, the Dolphins game and then progressing games, just knowing that it was going to be a fresh, new rookie quarterback, Mac Jones, Alabama. This is what we've been wanting since Tom left, was let's get our guy. Let's see a new kid take over, and that's what we got. So it was just a monumental kind of shift that we went from the bridge quarterback and Cam Newton to, hey, it's Mac Jones's team.
Yeah, ironically, my third one was Mac Jones related. I said drafting Mac Jones, and as anyone knows, I wasn't the biggest fan of drafting Mac Jones until we drafted him, and then I learned more about him and got to see him work. And I guess getting Mac Jones on the team, and you're right, giving him the keys to the castle, keys to the car. I think that was like one of the biggest moments of the year because you're right, we got the guy. We always wondered, even when we had Tom, who was going to be the next guy, who was going to be our next quarterback, franchise quarterback, and we got him. And this is who he is. It's worked out. He's put on, I think, enough to be the rookie of the year. And we'll have to see like how he goes in the future years. But I think this is we drafted a guy that I think I could see here being here for 20 years. So that was a big moment for 2021. Number two, what was the number two moment?
Two, I put Messi leaving Barcelona just because this is honestly something I never thought I would see happen, is Messi leaving Barcelona. I mean, I'm a big soccer guy, and even for people who don't follow soccer that closely, they all know it's Messi and Ronaldo.
Mm-hmm.
Barcelona, and even Cristiano Ronaldo left Real Madrid, which was huge too. But Messi had been with this team since he was a kid, like a literal child. He had been at Barcelona, and through all the championships and the accolades, and he grew up there. He lived his whole life there, and everyone just assumed he was going to retire there. For him to leave and go to PSG was that's something that I never saw coming. When I saw Lionel Messi is leaving Barcelona, I could not believe that. That was huge for me in a 2021.
I mean, after seeing Tom Brady leave the Patriots, I believe anyone's leaving. Nothing surprises me now. My number two was game 3 of the ALCS. We actually went to the same game. I've never been to an ALCS game before in my life. Obviously never been to that. I've only been to an ALDS game, 2 ALDS games at this point. When I went to the ALCS game at Fenway, and I'll tell you what, this playoff run in Fenway was so electric at the games I went to, the 2 games I went to, and I was very blessed to be able to go to those 2 games. I had a blast at that game. The crowd was crazy. It was a lot of runs. It was a lot of excitement, a lot of home runs. I mean, it had to take the right fielder, whatever his name is, Kyle Tucker. It took him throwing a ball, not to the fans, but back to the ball boy to get the crowd even more fired up after we kind of were tired of beating up on them in game 3. Got to see it with the commish, got to see it with my boy Danny Football. It was a fun game overall. We got to see the man, one and only Jack Moran there. So it was a good game. It was an unbelievable playoff game, and I just think it was one of my favorite memories of the sports memories of this year.
Yeah, and that's why that's my number one. Game 3 of the ALCS, my first ever Red Sox playoff game. To be there, absolutely electric. Great crowd, great game. Like you said, we were scoring plenty of runs. Very exciting game, and it just felt like a party from first inning to ninth inning. No one sat down. Everyone stood the entire time. Constant chants, constant cheering. It was just a good time, man, and I can't wait to go back. That's my thing is I can't wait to go back to Fenway, have good times like that again because that really was the peak. That was it.
It really made me want to go back more. Like it did. Like after that game, like I remember we talked about it. We were like, man, should we look at standing room tickets for Game 4? Like, it was intoxicating. Like you wanted to get back to see the Red Sox play. I will die on any hill that says Fenway Park is the greatest sports venue to watch a game out of anywhere. Like that is one of the great. I've been to a lot, but I've been to quite a few sports stadiums, baseball stadiums, other, different venues, and that is single-handedly the greatest place I've watched a game. Like it hands down has to be one of the greatest places to watch a game. Which leads me to when I went to Game 3 of the ALDS. The walk-off, Christian Vasquez, it went how many innings? It went like 16 innings. Nick Pivetta pitched his butt off in that game. He's pounding his chest, getting the crowd going. That was another game from, it was like a 5 o'clock start. And we're like, man, we'll be home before the 8 o'clock. I think it was even a 4 o'clock start. We're like, oh man, we'll be leaving before the Monday Night Football's even begun. And by the time we got out of there, it was over. It was just an unbelievable. It was the greatest game I've ever been to in my life. Like it was unbelievable. The suspense of it. The Astros get that unlucky bounce off of what's his name in center field, which makes it a ground rule double, and they can't get the go ahead run. And then in the very next inning, we go and hit Vasquez hits a walk off bomb over the monster. Everyone was standing for the entire 12 hours that game went on. It felt like about 2 days worth of baseball. Nick Pivetta had an unbelievable game, gutsy performance, and it was just an unbelievable game to watch. It was the greatest game, in my opinion, of the whole playoff series. And to be honest with you, I think Red Sox game in recent memory, and that's why it's my favorite sports moment. It's the best game I've ever been to, hands down.
There it is.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments, or we'll post these on social media like the last ones. Let us know what your favorite sports moment of the 2021 was. Was it any of the ones we had? Was there anything we missed? Was there any games you went to that were top of the list? Let us know, and it'd be awesome to hear what you guys have to say as well. So for the final time in 2021, let's go to our last segment, the People's Topic.
It's the People's Topic, baby! People's Topic.
All right, so for People's Topic, you can write on our Instagram and Twitter page at Big Red Zone. Give us a follow, give us a comment. We'll pick all different types every week, all different questions. First up, let's go with Vicky. She says, random topic for you to use or not to use. Well, we're using it. An intact dinosaur embryo was found. Will 2022 bring real life Jurassic Park? Is that true?
Yeah, I did see that.
Oh my God.
We might as well just run Jurassic Park out. Let's just do it. At this point, we've done everything else. We might as well just have a real life Jurassic Park.
That's pretty incredible. That's nuts. I can't believe it. Yeah, why not? There's already enough crap going in the world. Might as well bring dinosaurs back into the mix.
Everything's pretty entertaining if we could have like a Jurassic Park in Central Park in New York.
Oh my God, it has to be an island. You have to put it on like a separate island. Cape Cod becomes
Nantucket.
Jurassic Park. Nantucket would be a good one. That's nuts. Vicky, you know what? You always have that. You know what? I don't care if it was off topic. That's an unbelievable one to kick off. Yes, to answer your question. My goodness. The wife has got to end it with the me topics here. That's like, Mrs. Big Red wrote me. You know what?
Do you have a favorite 2021 moment with the missus?
Oh my goodness. There's so many.
Put you on the spot here.
I think the time that she had her Halloween party, so I got to see Danny football.
Oh, there it is.
That was one of the best moments.
There we go.
She also brought me to my first Red Sox game back post-COVID, so we'll give her a shout out there. But definitely the Halloween party. This one comes from producer John. Said,
welcome
shout
back.
out producer John. Welcome back. We should have asked him to come on the show tonight. What's your New Year's resolution that you don't anticipate accomplishing?
Oof.
I mean, that defeats the purpose. I mean, I don't go.
Well, I mean, everyone
anything-
has. It happens eventually. What's a resolution that I'm going to give up on? Mine's probably. I was kind of tossing this one around. I want to not eat fast food for the next year, but I know it's not going to happen.
See, fast food, I'm able to get away with. Like, I'll eat it when it's there, but I or if I'm in a real jam. But fast food, I don't. I guess I don't live close enough to a fast food place. I have to drive out of my way. I might as well just get something.
My thing is that I don't. It's not that I get it often. I probably get it less than 10 times a year. But there are times where I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. Not even that. I'm in a bind or anything. I'm just like, today's just the day.
Today's the day.
That's like, I'm like, I literally will justify it like, oh, I haven't had it in like 3 months, 4 months or whatever. So then I'm like, cash in. So I want to think I can do it for a year, but I know eventually at some point I'll be like, it's been long enough. I'll be okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My microphone said it was messed up again. For me, mine's kind of going to be the same related. I want to eat a little healthier, man. I want to kind of get back into the working out and eating healthy. Like, I started eating a little better in the last couple months, but I think I'll end up giving up on that real quick. I like burgers and pizza too much, so I'll probably end up giving up on that. But had a salad today, dating football with some grilled chicken. So
there we go.
All right, let's move on to the next one. So I think we're both eating healthy on that one, but that means we're both gonna.
I definitely want to eat healthier, but I can do better about that than actually just completely cutting out fast food.
Yeah, I think got to start working out a little more too. I got to get back into the gym and start doing that stuff too. Got to be like all these other people that hit the gym for the first 2 weeks and then say, all right, that's enough for 2020.
Literally how my job's going to be the entire month of January.
You're going to be busy.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to, I got to apologize to, this one's not on my man, Joseph Celia _Celia. I posted this late. Actually, I have an audio one from Mr. Andy. Well, I guess it was a stupid people's topic. From Andy Terrio. Andy, when he sent in his video submission for the Christmas holiday video, which I appreciate all the people that were in the video sending in their things, and everyone that hasn't seen it, go to our Instagram and go or TikTok too. Go give us a like on that. Andy Terrio said something about how me and the Grinch haven't been in the same room and debate on that. Am I the Grinch? You know what, Andy? You can pound sand. I said something nice about you having a great first Christmas as a dad. And you know what? You can go pound sand. Go pound snow, Andy. He's feeling all high and mighty because of his Ian Book prediction came true. It looks like it was coming true after the first quarter. So, you know what? I'm not the Grinch. So thanks a lot, Andy Terrio. And the last one comes from Timmy Boomsauce. Here you go. This was a funny clip, but he goes, "What's Bill's New Year's resolution?" Do you see that video on Twitter?
Dude, that took balls. That took balls.
That lady from that lady.
Absolute cojones.
That was an unbelievable question. You just got torched at home, lost the division, and now have to win to make it into the playoffs. Your team has lost total steam. But Bill, can you let us know what your New Year's resolution is going into 2022?
If murder was legal, man, I think he would have killed her.
I will say Bill was total. I wanted to talk about it last week, but remember last week, Bill, after the Colts game, he was short with them. I mean, he was normal, but then he apologized to the media. He's like, "Hey guys, I'm sorry if I was short with any of you after the game." So maybe he'll apologize to this lady.
Maybe.
I don't know. I think he was totally in his right. He just said, "No, I don't know right now."
Yeah.
That was such a stupid question. Why are you going to ask that question after you just lost the division? What's your New Year's resolution?
Yeah, no, I don't know how you pull that out in that setting.
What is Bill's New Year's resolution? Do we have an idea?
Go out and replace N'Keal Harry because he fucking sucks.
He is awful. He is awful. Great blocker, but terrible, terrible football player.
Complete waste of a roster space.
Just to point out a guy that was taking a couple spots after him, AJ. Well, I don't know if this was after him. Yeah, AJ Brown.
AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, and DK Metcalf all taken after N'Keal Harry.
And hold on, I know this is gonna delay the podcast a little bit, but I just want to check this out because I out of my own self-interest, I'd like to know how they did this week. Let's look at DK Metcalf first. DK Metcalf finished with 2 receptions, 41 yards, and a touchdown. Rob Marcello, where are you, buddy? He had AJ Brown. AJ Brown finished with 11 receptions, 145 yards, and a touchdown. Okay. And Deebo Samuel finished with 9 receptions and 159 yards. So you can take your pick over N'Keal Harry, who should have 1 pick on his record. That pick was on him. That was the laziest go up for a ball I've ever seen. It was high, but he's got to, kind of either come down with it or knock it down. He had 2 receptions for 15 yards. The silence is all you need to know about how we feel about this. How we feel about this draft.
No comment.
Yeah, that's terrible. Trade N'Keal Harry. That should be a New Year's resolution. Or cut him.
I mean, he already demanded a trade. You might as well get rid of him.
Yeah. The only problem is I don't think you can get a 7th round draft pick for N'Keal Harry. I think we'll have to trade him for like some soda or something.
All right, I'll take a soda.
All right, well, that's our people's topic. I was trying to. I feel bad because Joseph _Celia. What is it? It wouldn't be a people's topic, final people's topic of the year without Joseph _Celia. But I don't think we're gonna get it from him. Oh my goodness! Saved by the bell. Joseph, hot off the presses. Joseph _Celia coming in right at the closing moments. He says, "Keep ISO Joe for the." Oh, come on, Joe.
Oh, I don't mind hanging on to him. Keep him in the locker room.
Oh, you know what? Did you read what he said? He wrote, "Keep ISO Joe for the remainder of the season as a locker room guy and veteran mentor."
Yeah, there you go. Why not?
You know, that's a fine idea. You know, I like more veteran leadership in there, and I actually don't mind that. That's a good idea.
They could use it. They're currently down 7 to the Timberwolves now.
Are you kidding me?
No.
My goodness. Did I X out of I X'd out of everything. Gosh darn it. Well, that's it for people's topic. You can write in our Instagram and Twitter page at Big Red Zone. Remember to give us a follow. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button on this video as well as other videos. And make sure you please tell a friend. Happy New Year, Danny Football.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Thanks for joining as always, and have a great week, everyone, and have a happy new year.